Hi, Jess. Can you hear me? Are you still muted?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I got it.
Welcome to my tutor hours.
Hi.
Would you like to go over the lab material or the lecture material? We could work on the IQs together, or we could look at the lab material.
Um, I think maybe like the lab material. I think I got um, overwhelmed doing like, all of the memorization of like every single little piece of
Okay.
the yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That
Can
actually
you,
that's a good start right there.
okay. Can you name the four parts of the clavicle?
No.
Have you been on campus before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have, have you been to the Loria Library?
No. I've been there a couple times, but I'm not really familiar with the campus. So
Okay. At Loria Library, they have this really cool resource where you could check out bones. So having the bones in front of you and like palpating it and touching it could be really useful if you ever have time to go on campus to look at it. If not, we could just look at these photos because I also don't have the bones with me right now.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
so A is the acromial end, and then C is the conoid tubercle, and they're always next to each other. While for D and B, D is the coastal tuberosity, and while B is the sternal end. And whenever I think of sternal, I always think of like a ship. So these are just like ways I've been like memorizing things just by like how they sound sometimes, because that could
Yeah.
help, or like the location, or even how the bone looks like. So you just need to find like all sorts of ways to memorize things.
Yeah,
But
that
because
actually helps me.
yeah, but because the coast has ships like Stearns Wharf, I'm just like the sternal end is with the coastal tuberosity.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that.
And then for A and C, acromial end and the conoid tubercle. The acromial end, it touches the acromion part of the scapula. If I could find an image of that. Yeah, you see this image? The acromial end of the scapula touches the acromion. And that's why it's good to remember.
Okay. I have it like in front of me too, so
Okay,
I'm pausing.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then scapula, it's a bone that you could palpate off of yourself if you feel it. So there's like a lot of bones in our body we can't really feel, but then this is one that's pretty prominent. If you have the bone right in front of you, there's this like thing jutting out of it, the coracoid process. That's like the bit that's poking out a bit. And then next to it is the glenoid cavity. Okay, I'm gonna pull up my notes to see if I wrote any fun stories or tips to memorize these.
Yeah, because when she, the um, professor teacher, when she wrote, did the supine, like, and she made an example of like soup or whatever, it
Hmm.
like even now, it's just stuck. So
Yeah,
having something to stick it in my head like that, it really helps. Like it'll stay.
yeah. So
Um,
the clavicle is the collarbone,
right.
and I wrote the word oid. It means it resembles something. And then the sternoid and coastal, those are just like ship and like ocean words. And then the acromial end, it's more round because it touches the acromion, while the sternal end is flatter and you could palpate it on your body. Like if you touch like in your midline, you could feel it, and that's always remember. Sternal is like the midline, like where you touch it on the inside, like closest to your heart,
Oh,
while the ones further from you is the acromial end. So if you ever like get confused about the bone, you put it on yourself, and then you're like, which end is it touching? And that could help.
okay. So
Because
this is a picture of the left side then.
yeah. And also your sternum is your chest. So that's why it's called sternal end because that part is touching your chest. So that's another way to remember it. Okay, scapula. This is really cool because all the muscles we'll learn later, it's exactly what these specific parts are called. Like there's muscles touching all over these bones, and they are called the same name as the bones. So it's important to remember the bones first. Okay. So those are the images I have for week 1. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. When it said like where the anterior, medial, posterior, lateral, so for the because I got all those wrong too because I didn't really look at them before that lab. I thought it was going to be like the following week's exam, so I didn't even look, and then of course I got them wrong. So how is that where it's like the medial, posterior, you know, what is
Okay.
it?
So I always think about these words as pairings. They're like opposites of each other. So for anterior, it also always means front,
Right,
while
right.
posterior means back. And I always think of them opposite of each other. While lateral means furthest away from the midline, while medial means closer to the midline. So in this specific picture of the clavicle, it's oriented in a way where the sternal end is always in the medial, while the acromial end is always lateral. And it's always true in our own bodies. Like your clavicle will always have the sternal end in your medial. It's the closest to your chest.
The Sterling.
Yeah. So it's good to see this for orientation because sometimes when you hold a bone, you can't figure out what's up and down and left or right. So like using these anatomically correct words could help.
Oh, okay. So let's see. So this was so here was A. Um, C. So C would have been the medial, right? Like, okay, yeah, there you go. Not C. That's not what it was. So like what would A have been?
It would be lateral, the most lateral part of the bone. So if you're talking about relative to each other, we could say that C is more medial than A because it's all about relative, like where it's located relative to something else. So B would be the most medial, and then D, and then C and A. But if you have the right clavicle, it would be the opposite direction. Then B, you know, but it would still be the most medial.
And B would be most medial.
Hmm.
Okay. What would D be?
D would be more lateral than B, but more medial than A and C. So you're putting it like, which is the closest to your midline?
Uh, B.
Hmm. And which is the most lateral, the furthest from your midline?
And A.
Yeah, you got it.
So then the D would be like the lateral. Would it be posterior then or anterior? That's the other part that I didn't.
Posterior means the back.
Right. So what are we looking at with this picture? Like from that quiz, that's why I didn't like. I didn't know what I was. We're looking at the
Yeah.
back of this picture, of the bottom picture of it, right? Of that like black and white picture,
Yeah.
the one with the
Yeah.
letters on it.
Yeah. I'm
So that's
looking at,
everything is posterior on this picture. The one that's labeled with letters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like everything is posterior on the bottom. And then on the top, they flipped it
So then that would be
anterior.
anterior, and then it would be okay. Okay, I'm starting to get it. Okay.
I know these words all sound very similar, which could be tricky.
Yeah, and then it would flip. Okay, I had like no idea what I was looking at.
Have you ever taken medical terminology?
No, no.
Okay. This
Um,
class will help you in that because I think it's also a requirement for pre-med, right?
I think so.
Yeah, they both work hand in hand. But that one goes more in depth about like the roots of words and how to know for certain of them. Like some of these words that we'll go over together, I could tell you some of the roots and stuff I know, and that could help you remember it more.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, should we
Okay. I
go to
got
week two?
Yeah, that's helpful, and I'll just keep looking at that and map it out.
Yeah. Okay, for week two, we're gonna do the femur. This one has a lot more parts to it. It is the longest bone in the body, so it makes sense. Do you want to try it out yourself? Like I'll say like, what's A? And then you could try it.
No.
Okay.
Well,
So,
that's where the one on the left is the anterior view, right?
mhm. And then
Uh,
the right is the posterior. So
right.
that means the letters coincide with each other. So A on the left picture is the same as A on the right. So A is the head. A lot of these bones, they always have a head and a neck, but this one has the anatomical neck and a surgical neck. And the surgical neck is where it typically breaks the most, which is F.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it breaks the most. And then let me see if I have the key on here so I can show you. Oh, this is easier. So we could review it together and then I'll ask you for the letter, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we have the head, the fovea, which is this little hole in the head. And then also then there's the neck. Oh, sorry. In this class we're only just doing one neck. So they all have a neck. And then there's the greater trochanter and the lesser trochanter. And that's, let me see what that terminology means. That means a massive projection. So it's just like a huge like projection on the femur. The greater trochanter is the bigger one on the femur, and the lesser trochanter is the lesser one, like the smaller one on the back. Got it?
Okay.
And then in between them, there's an intertrochanteric line. And you're gonna be like, why is there so many names, even though they're like right next to each other? And it's because there's different muscles that like originate and like touch it. So that's why they have different names so people could figure out like which specific muscle they're looking at. Okay, so those are the top bits. The middle is easiest, is just the shaft.
Okay.
And then on the bottom, this is all about relativity as well. So it makes it easier because then you're always gonna have a lateral and a medial. So there's the lateral epicondyle, and condyle means knuckle. While epi means above, so epicondyle means above the knuckle. So there's the lateral epicondyle, which is above the knuckle, and then there's the lateral condyle, which is the knuckle. And then on the other side, there's the medial epicondyle and the medial condyle. So it's the knuckle and then above the knuckle. And in front of the femur, there's the patellar surface, and you can imagine that's where the patella bone goes.
Yeah. Then that's like the kneecap, right, or the knee?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
kneecap.
I just like had I know that word like, and I put pollux instead on.
Yeah.
I was like,
Pollux is your thumb. but I could see how the
Dang
words
it.
can be a
That
bit
was,
similar.
yeah, I know it's a funny word, but but
Okay,
now I
and
remember
then
because I got it wrong.
yeah. Well, that's good because at least you'll remember it even better now.
Yeah.
And then the last piece is the adductor tubercle.
Okay.
And yeah, should we try it with the
Uh,
unlabeled? We can start
uh,
with the easy. We'll start with the easy. What's G? This long piece in the middle of the femur.
the shaft.
Nice. Okay, what's A? What's the very tippy top of the femur called?
That was like the head.
Yep. And what's the little like hole inside of the head?
Dang it. Phobia something.
Yeah. Yeah, just fovea by itself.
Kona, Kona, I already told you. Go.
And then what's D?
The neck.
Yep. And what about C and E? They're like besties, so that's how I remember them. One is the big one and one is the little one.
Yeah, that word was just, I don't know,
Trochanter.
trochanter. Yeah, I gotta remember that.
Okay, it means massive projection. And then the greater one is the bigger one, of course, and lesser, greater and lesser. And in between them, do you remember what's the in between called?
Uh, um, no.
It's the intertrochanteric line. So it uses the word trochanter. Do you remember what inner mean? Inter mean?
Inter,
Yeah,
inside.
like between. So this line is between the greater and lesser trochanter.
So, okay, so inter, trochanter. So the
Okay.
lesser and greater trochanter.
Yep.
And then the intertrochanter.
hmm Should
Okay,
we try
got it.
the top again before we move on to the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
it's all about
it,
repetition. That's okay.
yeah,
It's all about repetition. And if you want, you can also practice writing it down because it's really important in this field to know how to spell things correctly. Because if you get one letter off, it could be a completely like fatal misdiagnosis, you know? So like
yeah,
just like our professor used the example of like having too much potassium in your blood versus like calcium. You get one letter off, it's like, oh, then the patient will get the wrong treatment and die in the most extreme cases. But if you
yeah,
want, you could practice writing it down.
yeah.
Highly
That,
encourage.
yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay. What is A?
A is the head.
B?
The phobia.
C?
Um, is that the greater trochanter?
Yep. And then what's E?
Yeah, the lesser trochanter.
Yeah. And what is D?
Yeah, the neck.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the space between C and E?
Between C and E is the intertrochanter. Between C and E. Okay. Yeah, the
Yeah.
intertrochanter. Right?
The intertrochanteric line.
Oh, intertrochanteric line. Okay, got it.
Okay. And then what's G?
The shaft.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now to we do F. Let me see what F was. Oh yeah, F was intertrochanteric line. Okay. The bones kind of look different on both images, but everyone's a little bit different. That's okay. What is so remember we talked about how there's a medial and lateral for femur for the bottom. All of the bottoms have like medial and lateral. So you have to orient yourself. The left image, is it anterior or posterior?
Anterior.
Mm-hmm. And then the right is posterior. Okay, so what is J?
The lateral, the
Yeah.
epicondyle. right?
Yeah, nice, nice. The lateral epicondyle, and epi means above. Then what is I?
I is the condyle.
Which
Um,
orientate, like what's the direction called?
oh, dang it. I don't know.
Just the lateral condyle.
Here, a lateral. Okay.
Yeah. And then what is K?
Uh, where's K? Okay. K is the medial epicondyle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then what's H?
And that is the lateral condyle.
Not lateral.
Just the regular condyle.
The
Or
medial.
medial condyle. So they're both. So K and H are both a medial condyle.
Um, the top one, K, is epicondyle. It's above the condyle. It's above the knuckle.
Okay. So K is epicondyle.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a medial.
Yeah. So H is the knuckle, and then K is above the knuckle.
Okay, and then that's the lateral condyle.
Mm-hmm.
Or the not okay. So the medial condyle is H, and then I is lateral condyle.
Mm-hmm.
J J is lateral epicondyle. Okay, okay, I got it. And the knuckle is rounded.
Yeah. It's the condyle is called a knuckle.
Okay.
Okay. Then there's also M, which we haven't talked about yet. But do you want to take a guess what M is?
Um, I'm gonna think it's the intercondyle.
Yeah.
Is it?
Intercondylar fascia. So yeah, it's in between the two knuckles, so it's in between the condyles. And fascia just means like a hole. So it's basically a hole in between the knuckles.
Interfascia condyle.
Intercondylar fascia. So the other way around.
Condylar fascia. Okay.
Yeah. And then we also didn't talk about N. Do you want to take a guess what N is?
Where is N? Let's see. Anterior something. I don't know.
It it's your popliteal surface. So right above the fascia. So popliteal basically means like the back of your knee, the back knee. So if you just remember popliteal as the back knee, that's the back knee part of the bone. So the popliteal surface.
Popliteal. Okay.
Okay, we
Okay.
cover
It's starting
everything. Yeah, we.
to make sense. It's starting to make sense though.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad I could help. And then there's one more part, J. Did we talk about J?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did J. It was like the lateral epicondyle.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's also the adductor tubercle. I'm trying to pinpoint it on this. It's not lettered. You see this little area up here above K that has no letter?
Oh yeah.
So that's the adductor tubercle. That's above the medial epicondyle.
Okay. Is that just like a groove indent kind of thing?
Tubercle, it just means, let me look this up. Tubercle, it means a rough projection. So kind of like a trochanter, but it's just a rough. It could be small or large.
Okay. Okay. No, this will be good. I'll just keep uh
Do you want me to
drop
quiz you one more time on this one?
which one?
On this, on the femur? Would you like to be quizzed again on it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What is M?
Let me find uh, intercondyle condylar fascia.
Yep. Then what is H and I?
H is a medial. How do you say that? Condyle?
Huh. Yeah, condyle
Yeah.
is a knuckle.
Okay. And then you said I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the lateral condyle.
Nice. Then what's J?
Okay, the lateral epicondyle.
Yeah. Then what's K?
Okay, the medial epicondyle.
And then what's the little space above the K?
Abductor tubercle.
Yeah, it's adductor. There's ab with AB.
Oh, yeah.
AB means away, while AD means towards. The opposite of away.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Okay. Then what is N?
Popliteal fascia.
Not fascia. It's just a surface.
Oh,
It
just
kind of does look like a hole though, huh? But it's just a surface.
the popliteal surface.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this other and the inner okay, so intercondyal. How do you pronounce this one? The M
Intercondylar fascia.
or fascia? So the fascia is a hole.
Yeah, a fascia is a hole. A condyle is a knuckle.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, popliteal, the back of is the back of the knee, but it's just a surface, not a hole.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. And here's how it looks like again. Okay. And then we're gonna do the next
And
one, the hand.
phobia. That because that the phobia thing. That's is that little like a little hole.
Let me see if I have any notes for that one.
B.
Yeah.
Fascia is like a big hole, and the phobia is like a little hole.
I know fascia just means hole. Fovea is a small depression.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You ready to move on to the hand?
Yes.
Okay. For the hand, it's all about directionality as well. Do you remember what distal means?
Yeah. Away from.
Yep. Like the furthest away from the root of the limb. What about proximal?
Closest to.
Yes. Okay. And then the phalanx just means fingers. So how you talk about digits, you always say like where it is. Oh, sorry, I keep zooming in. Let me zoom back out. Okay. It's like where the finger is relative to the other fingers and which number of the finger. So you could be like the middle phalanx of finger two, the proximal phalanx, stuff like that. So there's the Roman numerals. You see it? Your thumb is always number one.
Okay.
Okay. And then I have a silly acronym to remember the fingers. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. And this is to remember the carpals. Oh, sorry, I messed up. It is the way you say it is the direction and then phalanx of metacarpal and then the number. So proximal phalanx of metacarpal 3. And the metacarpal is which finger number? So you're not supposed to say finger, you're supposed to say metacarpal
Proximal phalanx of metacarpal.
and then the number of it is. So if you like hurt a specific finger, like a specific part of the finger, the doctor would be like, "Oh, you hurt your proximal phalanx of metacarpal 3."
The carpal phalanx, the metacarpal.
So that's how you describe all the metacarpals and the phalanges. But for the carpals itself, there's a bunch of tiny bones. There's 8 bones in total. And did there's this rhyme. I took anatomy with a different professor, but he comes up with the most remarkable, rememberable acronyms. Do you want to hear this one?
Yeah.
Okay, he got it somewhere, but it sounds really sketch, but it will help me remember, okay? Ready? And it's in order too. So it's some lovers try positions that they can't handle. And it's in the order of the bones of how they're from like lateral or from the top lateral, and then it goes medial. So it's scaphoid. Like you could write it down with the acronyms next to it, you know? You know what I mean? So you could write scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. And then next to it, you could remember that, like write down the acronym. So if you do get quiz on the carpals, you could just quickly write it down based on memory because you're tying it to a specific, silly
Yeah.
acronym. So hopefully this silly acronym could help you remember the orders. But you should like look at the carpals on the pictures to like see, okay, the top one is scaphoid, next to it is lunate, and then right underneath is the triquetrum. Then it is pisiform. Where's pisiform? Oh, this one does not have pisiform on this. That's such a funny name for a bone. Oh, here, pisiform. I pronouncing it that way, but it's probably not how it because I wanted to spell it, you know? Like I want to spell it the way it sounds because that's how it helps me. So if you want to do that and then later on in your career, like the doctors are like, if that's how you actually say it, then you're like, okay, but at least I passed my anatomy test.
Yeah.
So scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. Did they go from lateral? You see, it goes like a circle. Scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, and then the next row. Trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, hamate. So like you're looking from lateral to medial, from the top and then to the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and another worry to remember trapezium is that in order to use the trapeze, you must use your thumb, and the trapezium is like your thumb connected to your like closest to your thumb. So if you always forget your orientation, be like, "Oh, where's the thumb? There's the thumb." So
Yeah. It's
that
like,
must be the trapezium. And right under it is the trapezoid. Like right next to it, the trapezoid. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Yeah, that's the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Those are pretty silly, the acronym.
And it
Okay.
makes sense though. That somebody had to name it like
Someone
logically.
had to remember it, yeah. Okay. Do you want to try to name it yourself or should we try that next? Because I saw your email that you're going to come every Monday.
Yeah, yeah, every Monday. If I do something like on the regular, that'll like
Yeah. Yeah.
make sense.
Okay.
I need to like print this thing out and then like keep drawing it and drawing it because I did really good on the cell and plasma membrane and all that other stuff because I kept on
Yeah. Yeah.
redrawing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'll have to
It's
do.
Yes, that's the perfect way to study, just writing and repetition. And make sure you get the spelling right, because sometimes I've made a mistake of writing it wrong the first time and copying it wrong. So make sure you double check.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the next bone is the humerus.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at the image first. The humerus is the bone right here. I always remember it being here because your funny bone's here and laughter. Sounds like laughter.
Yeah.
Oh, so the mistake I made was I thought the ana sorry, I'm gonna move location. Give me 1 second.
Hmm.
Okay, apologies. So
Yeah.
the humerus, remember earlier I talked about how there's two necks. There's the anatomical neck and then there's a surgical neck because the surgical bit is the part that breaks more easily. I was actually talking about the humerus, not the femur, but they do look very similar. So there's the head in this one as well, and then the anatomical neck. And then we have the surgical neck, which is way lower than it is. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's also a greater tubercle and a lesser tubercle on the humerus. So this looks very similar to the femur
Okay.
for the top. And then this also has a shaft like a femur. So that's good to remember. And then by the shaft, there's a little protrusion, a little projection called the deltoid tuberosity. And tuberosity means the rough projection, and that's where the deltoid probably connects with.
Tuberosity.
Yeah, tuberosity means a rough projection. Could be small or large.
Okay.
It's different from a tubercle, even though they're both projections.
Okay.
Okay, and then in the bottom, um, there's the lateral epicondyle, and then there's a medial epicondyle. And those are based on directionality.
Okay.
And then this one, I think it's really funny how we remember capitulum. It's basically it's bone right here, and the professor's like, this is how you could decapitate someone apparently. So to remember it, like I don't actually understand how that could happen, but that's like that action is how you could remember what the
So like
capitulum is.
somebody.
Yeah.
And what is it called again?
Cap this part right here, it kind of looks like a condyle. Kind of looks like a knuckle, but why is it not called knuckle? I don't know.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, and then there's a bunch of fascias. There's the radial fascia, and then there's the coronoid fascia and corona. You know what corona is in Spanish?
A crown.
Yeah. So this is a crown.
So at the top of the bone.
Yeah. And it's a fascia, so it's a hole. So it's a crown-like hole.
Oh, okay. Now I see the words in here. Um,
Okay. Are you ready to get tested on this section?
Not this one.
Okay.
I can't
Also,
really
your
talk to the bone.
your radial fascia, um, the radial and the ulnas, I mean the radius and the ulna are the two bones on your forearm, and it's called a radial fascia. It's because that's where the other bone is like on it. Okay. And then we could go over this next Monday too, now that you're going to get more familiar with it over the weekend. So on Monday, we could review this again, okay?
Yeah, next and then yeah, whatever I can like next time so I can print out the bones and then I like what we're gonna go over.
Yeah.
Just,
There's also
sure that's
another cool resource that you should check out. It's called I'm trying to remember. It's on Canva. Let me stop sharing and find it. It's a very expensive resource. It's an app you could get on your iPad or your computer or your phone, and it basically makes like a 3D image of the bones and you could click on it and like check it out. Let me find it. The name is blanking. Oh, it's called Real Anatomy.
oh yeah, I saw that.
Okay, did you download it yet?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you tried it out?
I just kind of explored around in it, but I haven't. I'll do that right now because this is. I feel a lot more like comfortable with it now.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that one could be tricky because then you have to there's like nerves and like stuff like that. So it could be kind of tricky to
yeah.
understand.
Is there anything else that you would suggest, kind of that's like a um, a printout of just like the bone like that, just to kind of like keep drawing it or labeling it or coloring it or something like. Yeah, it's not
Yeah. Do
easy,
you
but
are you a visual learner or an
yes,
auditory?
very
Okay,
good.
if you're on social media, on Instagram, there's a bunch of cool anatomy like groups that I follow, like the Institute of Anatomy. They like talk about like really, let me find out their exact at name, but they like talk about bone cases like, oh, what happens if there's a conjoined twin? Like what happens if this happens? And it's like they have their museum, I think in like New York. And you could go in person to look at it if you ever want to, but it's called the Institute of Human Anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I follow. And then there's another one. Oh, the Institute of Human Anatomy is explaining specific like questions like people in the chat have about bones and anatomy. And then let me find the bones one. There's a lot of cool like resources on social media too. And if you just like see it in your feed, just like take a second to just like watch it, because then you'll remember that case. And then, you know,
Yeah.
oh, it's called Jones Bones, Jons Bones. That one's the bone museum I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
So they have really cool bones. People donate their bones. Some people like get surgery of specific like bone growth that they have, and they donate it to the museum, which is really interesting. So it's like kind of weird, but also if it helps you remember it, that's another good resource. There are anatomy coloring books if you are like you want that color coordination,
Yeah.
that could help. I didn't have time to do that. I feel like for me, coloring takes a very long time and I didn't have that time commitment. But do you use like iPads or do you prefer paper and pen?
Um, Either one.
So there's this app. Have you heard of Notability?
No, I haven't
Okay.
heard of it.
So
No.
it looks like this. It's like a blue pencil. Oh, can you see? Let me take off my background then. Give me a sec. Okay. So it looks like this. It's like a blue pencil. Can you see it?
Kind of. No.
Okay. It's a blue pencil. I'll type it in the chat. It's called Notability. I think it's like $7, but
Mhm.
this resource is really good because all you got to do is download the PDFs from class.
Okay.
And
Oh, perfect.
and then you could draw and write on it.
That's perfect. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I need.
There's also this features where you could put stickies on it. So you could cover the word with a sticker and then you could click the sticker to reveal the words. So if you're like memorizing it a lot, I just like olecranon, click on it. Oh, it is olecranon. Then I close it and then I go to the next word. And because you could like manipulate the PDF in a way you can't really do with just pen and paper, I think it's really helpful. So I primarily use this for the class.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I need, because then I would be like I got my notebook in here and I'm like writing and rewriting.
Yeah, I also have a notebook for that because I also like the pen and paper.
Yeah, I'm like writing and then scribbling it out and then drawing, and yeah, so like drawing and
Yeah,
rewriting it like again and again. Yeah,
yeah.
that would be totally helpful. Yeah.
Um, I think this, like writing pen and paper, like if you're at work or if you're like slow at work or like hanging out with kids or something, I like to just write on pen and paper over and over again.
Yeah.
Drawing the bones could help too, but that takes too long sometimes because sometimes like the bones are very weird shape, and if you don't get the right texture, it might be difficult to remember in the future. If you have confusion of what a word actually means, looking it up to find out like what it actually means could help. Because a lot of times these words aren't named like in a silly way. Anatomy is a universal language for how doctors and like people in this field communicate with each other to be on the same page. Because if you call a bone something else in a like in Europe, like eggplant and aubergine, like if you call something different, sometimes it could get mistranslated and then the patient could die. The worst case
Oh,
scenario is if you
yeah.
spell something wrong. Yeah. So that's another way I try to remember like the spelling, the pronunciation is like, oh, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have any other questions? Do you want me to review anything else?
No, no, just that. That's perfect, because then that helps me, learn everything. The,
Okay.
that repetition. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. So
Of
then
course.
I'll see you Monday.
On Monday. Goodbye. Good luck.